typically, I don't want to say typically, but a lot of times when the feds do a rate cut, it's one in a series of rate cuts. But almost always. But one of the things that the Fed said, and I'm curious if this landed on you, was that this was kind of framed as a risk management cut.
Yep.
Like, we're acknowledging the labor issues. It's kind of like we feel like this is a risk. So to me, that doesn't indicate the first of potentially many. It's like, we're going to put this in place as a risk management, and then we're still just back to this data dependent, watch the numbers, et cetera. Is that kind of your similar take on that?
You know, I think the reason why the Fed usually cuts in like a series of cuts or hikes in a series of cuts is because what the heck is 125 basis point cut going to really do, right? It's not going to be that significant or change much. So, you know, I think it was important for the Fed to shift here. The Fed always says things like, listen, no meetings on a preset course. We're going to remain data dependent, even during where they had these strings of hikes or strings of cuts. It's not like they said we're going to hike at the next 7 meetings per se in most cases, right? So I do think that they did this as percent, but he did get asked the question, and he said, yeah, you could look at it as a insurance cut or a risk management cut. But if you look at the Fed dots plot, I think the median amount of cuts the Fed's projecting is 2 more this year. And almost all Fed members still think that the Fed is restrictive. So they have room to cut. They want to make sure inflation is not going to go crazy. But the main thing is going to be the jobs data. And if we get a very strong jobs report for whatever reason on October 3rd for the month of September, it could be one and done. I don't think that that's going to happen. And I think the most likely path is that we're going to get one, if not, I think probably 2 more cuts this year. But I don't know, I could see why people would look at that and say, but I think that they want to continue to cut so long as the jobs market doesn't surprise them, in my opinion.
Yeah. Last question. I just want to go back to this immigration stat. So the number of available jobs and the number of people seeking employment, it sounds like, Well,
it's not available jobs. It's the labor force.
Okay.
Right. So you have the unemployment rate. It's a ratio. It's the number of unemployed persons divided by the labor force. So that's like, how many people are unemployed divided by the people that they consider potential workers.
But the labor force has been going down because of immigration, meaning there's less labor force. But the question I have about this, Dan, is when I think about immigration, the first thing that comes to mind is all of the illegal immigration that has been stopped as a result of the focus on the border and closing the border to illegal immigration. But illegal immigration wouldn't really be represented in those stats, I wouldn't think, right? Because these people are
I'm not so sure about that. I think, a lot of those people were being counted. And now they're not being counted in the labor force.
Okay. Because I think the other one would be the H-1B1 changes and some of the other, even these.
Well, that'll definitely have an impact, which will certainly be counted, right?
Right.
Where, those of you that are not familiar, they increase the cost for H-1B visas where you get people from other countries that are presumably, going to really add to our economy here. They're smart, maybe they're doctors, whatever it may be, right? In healthcare service. And the cost for that visa was, I don't know, somewhere between $2,500 and $5,000, maybe, or $4,000. Now they just raised that cost to $100,000. So that is putting a big tax on bringing talent here. Some people are looking at it as like, I think the way it was presented is it's to, open those jobs for Americans, right? But then other people are like, well, this was our opportunity to steal some of the best talent from around the world and bring them here to contribute. And now you're putting a huge 100,000 tax that probably won't make sense for the employer to do because a lot of these individuals are getting paid $50,000 a year or whatever it may be, right? So, but what it will do is probably cause some less legal immigration too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think the biggest cohort of those individuals is in the technology space, right? I mean, a lot of tech employees. I mean, I'm up here in Seattle.
A lot of people from India, a lot of people from India and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, interesting, Dan.